What's up, Aventis fam? Welcome to the podcast series Aventis Knows. You are now listening to the 5th episode of this podcast, Aventis Knows Season 4. This show is brought to you by Aventis Learning Group, and I'm your host, 𝗟𝗏. If you are an individual who's trying to find your way around the corporate ocean or trying to #up your game with your career, this is where you should be. Today's episode is a continuation on the topic, the important connection between body language and EQ. To give you a recap of what we have covered last week, we went through the concept behind body language and explored each type in detail. We also looked at some examples of body languages and how we can read them. In addition, we also discussed the importance of non-verbal communication in the workplace. So in the second session today, we will be exploring more about the correlation of body languages to factors like our EQ and our success. We'll also find out why is it important for leaders to have these skill sets and how we can further improve on them. Now let's bring back our speaker Christian Chua right away to continue his sharing on the topic. Hi Christian, welcome to the show.
Good morning, 𝗟𝗏. Nice to see you.
Going back to our topic today, so knowing how to decode body language is the difference between success and failure. What is your thought on this?
I wouldn't say that's the ultimate skill set to have to determine success or failure, but I think it would enhance your success a lot because if you just know what to say, when to say, how to say it to the right people, you immediately will be more successful. That's why it's more, body language is part of the universe of profiling. So come and attend the body language workshop. And later on, we have different types of workshop that enhance the entire profiling. That will be also very useful. Because what we want to know is, who is 𝗟𝗏, who is John, who is Peter, and what type of character they are. And we want to know that within minutes, not within days, not to pass them a psychometric tool and say, would you please fill up this form before I have a conversation with you? Okay, so we can read them off from the conversation and the communication styles. And immediately it clicks and say, okay, this guy is in this domain, this character type. So let's use this style to communicate with him or her. And that would have answered your question. So there is no reason why people would not invest their time to learn a super skill like this.
I agree that it's very important.
It is.
And if I'm in the position of a leader, or for any of our listeners who hold a managerial position out there, how does body language come into the picture?
First of all, you would like to hire a good team. And at the interview, don't just look at the resume. Then you get a qualified person, but does the character and the attitude suit your team? So you want to hire the right fit, not just the competency, but the right fit. So yours may be, I'm the autocratic leader, so I just want people to listen to me. Then hire that type of character. Because if you're going to hire someone that's a very strong character, then he's going to go against you, or he's going to speak up his mind or her mind. Okay, and that's under face reading. You can tell by the strong nose bridge and the angled eyebrow, etc. Okay, and for body language during the interview, you can ask them, if you see something wrong, would you speak up, or would you just obey, and so on. So through the interview, the body language, the gestures, the speech analysis, you know whether you're hiring the right person. Okay, so absolutely. So that's a start. So you get the right person for the job. Then subsequently, even let me give you an example. You're having a meeting, and you have 8 staff in a room. Where they sit already can tell whether they're on your side or away from your side. The one that's always by your side is always sitting on your left and right. And the one that dares to go against you will take the opposite side of the table. The one that's trying to go under the radar is opposite side of the table on the left and right. Because imagine if this is a long table and I'm seated here and the boss is giving the briefing there, all I need to do is to push my chair a little bit back and she cannot see me or he cannot see me anymore. So even the sitting arrangement, things like that are telling tales, telling signs. Each time that person keep picking that seat, you know how much distance she or he is from the boss's side. So that's one of those. And during a meeting, when you see one of your staff talking and the other person rolling the eye, if you catch that glimpse, like, yeah, she again trying to apple polish, you already know there's a conflict between your staff. So these are some of the very useful secrets and tips as a body language trainer for over 20 years. So yeah, you can read a book, but it's really nothing like attending a real workshop, because the questions that you ask, sometimes it's impossible to be expressed in a book.
So we mentioned interview just now, right? So do HR professionals and hiring managers actually look up for like the body language cues that interviewees portray to them?
I can't speak for all the HR because I don't know them all. I do not know how many of them are well trained, but certainly those trained ones will know how to pick up. And those trained by me, of course, they will know even more tips, more interview tips to bring out the emotions. Some of the trick questions that they found, hey, look, the resume, look, there's a little loophole here. I think this part they're lying, and I teach them how to retrieve the truth from it. So with that, they always hire the right one. And there are some occasions where they didn't want to risk it and they hired me to sit into the interview, because these are very senior positions and they wanted to hire one person. So they had 3 candidates left. And so when I read the 3, I picked the one that they didn't expect. And I gave my reasons for it. They trusted me and they picked that lady, and 6 months later they text me and say, wow, you got it spot on, we're just so happy. She didn't do well in the interview, in my opinion, the boss said, but you picked up things that I didn't see, and then you got it right, because you are also right about the other 2. It wouldn't have worked out.
In the past 1 year since the pandemic, many of us, including our listeners as well, have slowly started to adapt to the lifestyle of working from home. And in this case, where we do not actually see our colleagues face to face, or like, see our clients face to face, do we actually still need body language?
I think you need body language even more right now, because when I'm live with you, I can see your entire body and your expression and the angles of your legs and where are your toes facing. Right now, you're seated right in front, and I think you're more conscious about the camera pointing to you. So you're having very little movement in that sense. Okay, so you're being very proper and you're very camera ready. So while today's interview is not me interviewing you, but you interviewing me, then obviously you feel very relaxed. But if suddenly I turn around right now and I start asking you questions, you're going to see a lot of body movements. Okay, so if you depends on what context you're talking about. When you're under Zoom, are you negotiating in the business? If you're in a business, right, like a lot of you who attend the course would want to use it for diplomatic reasons, or negotiating with your suppliers, or you are negotiating with your buyers. You are the salesperson. You want to know whether the buyer is a hot lead or cold lead. So there are certain techniques that I will teach you to know instantly whether am I wasting my time with this buyer, or the buyer is no longer interested. Okay, so right now you're just going nodding, triple nod. So you enjoyed that point.
So take, for example, over Zoom, what are some of the body language that is important?
There's always two things that we talk about: reading body language and being aware of your own body language. Okay, so like today's context, what do I want to portray to the viewers? Okay, so I dressed up, that's called co-reading skills. So by how I dressed up, my background, you will judge me a little bit. What if I came in a t-shirt and I don't think that like I'm prepared for this body language? So that's one of those things. So if you those of you who are, you're working from home and your Zoom backgrounds and all those, you can use a virtual background, or you can just do up a little corner just to look a bit more confident and more representative of your esteemed company. That's one of those things that you need to do. The other thing is that when you come on Zoom, immediately, if there are 4 or 5 people, get yourself heard. Don't just switch on and then like quiet there for a long time. It starts to show that you are a bit less assertive. If there's no conversation going on, then you just say, hello, everyone. My name is Christian. Very nice to be in this Zoom call with you today. Say it in a strong, assertive voice, and then talk to a few people. Hi, Jinhan. Hi, Hazel. Hi, John. Nice to meet you. Just mention their names. So you start off with that type of aura, and then you make them feel that you're confident and you're in control already. So that's one of those body language that you want to portray. Okay, so the other thing that you want to do is like occasionally I'll look into the camera because my camera is now not mounted on my laptop because I want to have a wider angle, and you are on my laptop, so occasionally you see my eyes going down, but I always go back to the camera. So that's like a newscaster. You go back to the camera and you talk to the camera. Don't talk to her picture because it doesn't look right, but I'm talking to you right now. It's like talking straight into the camera. So occasionally you want to make a point, you talk straight into the camera. That's more assertive. Okay, so on the other flip side, if you want to read the other person's body language, of course. So if you're making a point, is the person still maintaining eye contact, not into at least into the screen, okay, nodding and responding. That's one of those things. Okay, and sometimes if it's a long conversation, they are not even looking at their Zoom and they're having a Facebook and reading some other article. That can be seen also. And we don't want to be caught doing that.
Then when we are talking about non-verbal communication, I think we know that it is really important. It's probably as important or even more important than verbal communication, but yet it feels so hard to control. Why is that? Like, why can't we hide how we are feeling?
Okay, so first of all, I don't think non-verbal is more important than verbal. That's a huge mistake that a lot of people say, hey, the body language is 53% and the verbal is 23 or whatever. Why do you want to give up the verbal too? That's what I'm always sharing. I want to teach you body language, but don't ignore the verbal, because on the phone, when I cannot see your body language, when we're doing a tele call, then the speech analysis needs to kick in. So I want to teach you all the 3 or 4, the tone of voice, the speed, the pauses, the hesitation when you hear people talk, and then also the choice of words. But if you can see the body language, that's fantastic. So when you cluster them together, you get a complete read. So I don't often get it wrong. I get it right. Okay. Now back to your question, and your question is why is it so difficult for us to
control our body language?
Because we need to control our emotions first. Okay, there are 3 parts. You process information. Information will translate into emotions. Emotions will personify into actions. So when you're angry, you are angry. Can't help it. Am I angry? You're angry. Okay. So what you need to do is to psych yourself and control your emotions. So stay calm, stay mellow. And that is why when you see a lot of altercations, fighting videos on Facebook and all those road rage, okay, at the end, they'll always scold vulgarities, and the guy that has a cigarette needs to light up his cigarette and smoke. And I can explain to you all those kind of behavior. It's a comforting thing for them. Okay, so if you want to control your emotions, build on your character. Okay, so when you are provoked, stay calm and answer in a more classy way.
Can our body language also be faked?
Some can, most can't. So let me explain to you. I can have a bad day, but I'm, let's say, a flight steward, and I say, welcome to Singapore Airlines. But I'm having a bad day, but I smile. And that's all the menu may tell me. Smile and say, welcome to Singapore Airlines. That's faking my real feeling, which is negative. However, you want to say complete fake, people like experts like us, we can catch you because there are such a thing called involuntary body movements. For example, for the Caucasians, we can see their pupils very clearly because their eyes could be turquoise or light blue. So when it dilates or contracts, we can really see it. Perspiration is part of body language. Face, blood flushing into the face, that's body language. Nervousness and clearing of the throat, and the throat is choked because they are nervous, they have a deep swallow, breathing heavily. All these are involuntary body movements. So these are the extremes that 100% you cannot fake. But through provoking and through asking questions, even when you don't answer, it's a body language. When I'm asking you a question and you remain totally silent, that non-movement is also a body language. Okay, so there's no way, if there is a 1 hour interrogation, there is no way you can control your body language throughout.
So if you wanted to improve on some of these non-verbal communication skills, how would you get started?
Okay, I think Aventis is organizing a workshop conducted by me. That would be your fastest way, of course. Yeah, you invest a little bit of time, a little bit of fees, and that would be the fastest way. And you're being taught by someone who is you could say quite an expert on it. Alternatively, you can go and Google your own resources, but not everything on Google is accurate or correct. You need to understand that, because some are just bloggers who are asking people to write content, and I dispute. Even between body language experts around the world, I can make a good judgment call against the others in terms of American politics and things like that, whether guilty or not guilty and so on. We've done in our group doing a pre-judgment call, and I'm quite accurate.
So when we are practicing these behaviors, how do we actually make sure that we are repeating them in a way that day to day is going to result in us getting better over time? Like, how do we practice these things?
Sure, of course, you need to be convinced about this skill, and you need to be passionate about this skill also. So with that, it's every skill that you learn is all about awareness. Whether is it just normal telephone skills or communication skills or all the vast courses that Aventis is offering. At the end, when you learn it and you're not aware that, hey, this is time to apply this, nothing's going to happen. Okay, so if you want to adopt this skill, then the next time you go into a Grab or you at the market, when you talk to people, be a bit more aware. What's the body language like? How are they responding to you? And each time you pick up new information, it's your personal big data. And then more and more of these visuals are in your head. And the next time you say, I've seen that before, I've seen that movement before. And that's how it works. So you only get better with time.
Do you also agree that it's usually the non-verbal communication that leaves the lasting impression?
No, I think, again, even I would like to say yes, because this is my domain. I would like to overplay body language. The truth, it is not. It is everything in between. So I've written this book called Rapid Networking Skills. And what I teach in that session is very interesting. How do you approach a stranger? So first of all, it's called the setup. Look at yourself. What are you wearing at that point? So if I'm wearing a suit right now and I'm going and approach, let's say an auntie in the market, she's going to think I'm selling her something. Obviously, correct? So that may not be a good context. But if I'm wearing a suit now and I'm entering a fancy restaurant, I'm going to get first-class service. You see, so that's called the context. The second part is the body language. That's called the approach. So from the time the person sees you walking that 10 steps towards you, what is the 5 or 6 emotions you can display that they say, this is a friendly, not a hostile? Okay. And then when you meet that person, when you start talking, they are going to decide, what on earth do you want from me? Because I do not know you, you're a stranger. And so what's your agenda here? Is it just a friendly neighbor? Are you some religious fanatics trying to convert me? Are you a political party? Are you selling me something? It could be any of those things, right? Or are you trying to hit on me? So that few minutes, you need to tell them what's your intention. And then we go into the conversation, and then we leave a charismatic presence. So you're going to be funny, you're going to throw a hook line, things like that. So those are a complete version of how you could infuse body language into it.
Do you happen to know of anyone or have any powerful examples of how body language helped change an impression or make a significant impact or even become more authoritative at work?
Okay, the first one that comes to my mind when I hear that question would be Margaret Thatcher. So Margaret Thatcher is the Prime Minister of England, the former Prime Minister of England, and she's called the Iron Lady. When she first started, her voice is actually very high. Good evening. And then, her speech therapist told her, you don't sound confident, you sound very squeaky, and it could even be very obnoxious with a high tone of voice. So they taught her how to bring her voice down. So towards the end of her term, when she became more mature, okay, we're going to send warships down to Falklands to regain. And she spoke with more authority. So that is one of the classic examples we always use when it comes to a huge visible change in the demeanor.
Before we end this podcast session on the important connection between body language and EQ, could you leave us a take-home message for our listeners or any golden rules that encourage you to keep going?
Well, the golden rule is don't get hang up with this new overly sensitive society where say, oh, you cannot say this or you cannot judge people. Again, I want to reiterate that this is a survival skill. And while we don't pass remarks or openly judge people, we want to use this skill to protect ourselves, we protect our family, our children. When we see a stranger, you just can't say, oh, give everybody a benefit of doubt. Then what do you want to do? You want to wait till the child gets harassed or kidnapped? So sometimes we do want to be on our guard. We apologize if we are wrong, but these are survival skills. The animals use it all the time. So don't get overly hang up. But the thing is, if you are trained, you are going to be much more accurate. You're going to apologize a lot less because you're going to be so good at it. You know at an instant, this is not the guy I'm going to trust. This is not the person I want to deal business with. This is not the employee I want to hire. I hope that was a good tip.
Okay, thank you, Christian. Thanks so much for coming on our show.
Well, thank you, everyone, and I hope to see you at the workshops.
Hi, Aventis fam. From this session, we now know that both body language and emotional intelligence goes hand in hand. It's all about how we interpret the world and present ourselves to it. And at the end of the road, we all want our body language to match our oral language and ultimately enhance them. Especially in the workplace, we need to make sure that we are sending the right messages for others to feel that they can trust us, approach us, as well as to build relationship with us. Because often, what we are thinking will not only automatically show up in our body, but it also send subconscious signals that others will pick up. Hence, it is beneficial for professionals to learn important body language signals so that they can have better communication with their peers and clients. Thank you for tuning in to the 4th episode of Aventis Knows Season 4. If you do have any questions regarding the topic of body language, do drop down your questions in the comment section below or drop us a DM. We are available on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Telegram, and Spotify. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to us for more podcast episodes, and we will see you soon. Bye!